So we are back and let's get this show on the road. So I'll give you guys a couple updates on where I've been. Well, obviously, if you've been following along, I was in Argentina, Buenos Aires for about 4 weeks. And then from there, I flew to Cusco and I was in Cusco for about 5 days. And then Arequipa, I can't pronounce it proper, for about another 5 days. And now I'm in Lima. And that's my next stop. And so there's a lot that goes on with traveling. So whenever you go to a new spot, you got to get into a routine as quick as possible. Ironically, today's topic is going to all be about time management. So first things first, whenever I'm traveling, it usually takes like a day worth, even if it's an hour and a half flight. Why? Well, you got to get to the airport 2 hours early. So that's one aspect of time. An hour and a half flight is really 3.5 hours plus an extra half hour to an hour to get there. So it's 4.5 hours. That also means that there's not a lot you can do necessarily before the flight because you don't want to waste time. So even yesterday I went for breakfast and then went back to my Airbnb, get my Uber, and that was it. And then by the time I get into here, because then I land at the airport, you got to get your baggage, you got to go through customs and stuff. Now it's domestic, so it's a little bit different. But even then, I still had to then find a airport shuttle to get me close to here, and then I walked. By the time I got here, I think it was like close to 4 p.m., which again, that's not crazy. But to have left my Airbnb at, I think it was 9. So 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., that's 7 hours for an hour and a half flight. So no matter how much you travel, it's at least going to be the day. So I don't put any clients into my schedule. I try to get my workouts in the day before and the day after. I also have to manage, again, food and timing for things like that. When I get here, it's also, okay, I have nothing here. Yes, I'm going to go out to eat for dinner, but I should probably go get some groceries because I'm going to want something for breakfast. So I have to go get that. You forget that a place like here, you also have to keep in mind water. I want to get my coffee, so I have to get water so I can boil water in the morning. So it is more complicated for sure when you are out traveling. And it is time management. So now that I'm here, I had to decide, okay, this Airbnb, how long do I stay? I'm like, well, I get a discount a little bit if I do a week. I get a big discount if I do a month. A month is a little bit on the long side mentally to be in one spot. A week is not too bad. Especially this type of week, because I have the weekend where I'm not taking clients. And then Monday, Tuesday clients, Wednesdays basically off, Thursday clients, Friday travel day. And so that's how this week is going to go. And then I'm thinking over the weekend I'm going to go somewhere like a beach area. Now Lima is on the coast and there are kind of beaches here, but you want to get a little bit further from the city. So that's what I'm thinking of where I'll be going next weekend. And then I'm thinking of coming back to Lima for a week as well. Big city. I'd rather stay in the city for like a week and then go away for a weekend. So I'm playing it by ear. I still don't have the rest of my trip planned out. Anyway, time management. That is the topic for today. And that's my kind of intro into somewhat time management. Somewhat. Not exactly. All right. So time management, you got to remember that spending lots of time in the gym eats up your valuable time. What if I told you that those 3 hours bought you more time, gave you more energy, and improved your quality of life? So today it's all about time management, not boring calendar stuff, but more or less how to optimize your time, how to optimize your fitness, how to optimize your schedule so that you can work out and it fuels your life rather than draining it, right? Now, maybe you're a fellow personal trainer and you just need to learn how to manage clients and you need to manage fitting them into a schedule, or you're just wanting to work out more, or you feel like you don't have the time to work out. This is all for you. So I actually am pretty disorganized and messy. When it came to the podcast, for example, having a little bit of a script, has helped a lot. I go off script a little bit, but then I can go on script a little bit as well. Even just this beginning, I wanted to give you guys an update on life. There was no script, so you can feel the difference between that and the difference between now I've gotten into a flow state because I have stuff down in front of me. So being organized is key. I've had to learn the hard way to be organized. How did I originally learn to organize my clients? Well, when I first got to Good Life, it was a system that you had to input every single person by hand, basically, into the computer one at a time. And it was a pain in the butt. It would take like an hour to put them in for the next 4 to 6 weeks, which is fine. But then my boss would say, hey, you should also email your clients, hey, this is at the end of the week, hey, this is what I have for you next week. And he's like, well, it's just a touch point. But again, that took a lot of time. And then I had to put it in my own calendar, which I used an iPad at the time, and at least that could sync to my phone into calendars, right? The calendar app, which it's all fine. It's just that was a lot. And so I went from that to then COVID hit. During COVID, I basically just had a whiteboard calendar, kind of, that I would make, and it was like not even a calendar. It was just a 2-week in advance calendar. Then eventually I went to 3 because then I bought a third whiteboard, and I would write out the week. I would write in when I would have clients, and I'd write in what I would want to do on that day because it was during COVID. So I basically would just plan in advance. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to read Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm going to do this Tuesday, Thursday. This is when I take my clients. I'm going to organize. And literally, even in my calendar, I would start organizing when to put in organized calendar this date. And then I would also track how much money I made per day. Why? Well, it was during COVID. I wasn't making a boatload of money because the gyms were shut down. And it was kind of cool for me to at least track that. And then I started tracking on another calendar. This was right before I went on my big trip to Ecuador. Okay, how many days of in this year can I work? And even if it was a half hour, as long as I got paid, I would check it off. And I think I got to only 11 days. I didn't technically work, and that was in like 2022. Which is kind of cool to think about that. Again, we've come a long way since then. And so I've gotten into the habit of calendars. In that year, because then I went away to Ecuador, I wouldn't have had my whiteboards. And I was talking to some of my clients, and my clients like, listen, you should really just go back to Google Calendar. It's so much better now. You can do this, this, and this. You can send out invites. So I now use Google Calendar, and it's a great tool for me. Again, this isn't the most exciting shit in the world, but it really does help. There was a book I read, Getting Things Done. My mom would love the book. It's all about systems and organization. She's probably read it. She probably co-authored it. But it is an organizational tool. The calendar, reading that helped me with organizing the calendar more. And I couldn't really finish the book much because, no offense, it was pretty boring. But it is useful. And it is important to have systems. And my one client, he's like, oh yeah, I've read that. It changed my life. He's disorganized too, but he needed systems on how to get things done. The other thing I like about it is the funnel system. Because I can be driving my car, hey Google, remind me to do blank, and it just goes into my tasks, and it asks me when, and I get a lot of podcast ideas then. Or in my phone, it also then syncs to that, so then Google Calendars, and same thing with my laptop. I usually just have clients that are rocks in my calendars. So for example, I'll just use their names, because you wouldn't even know who they are anyway. My mom will. Lynn, it's Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 p.m. unless we say otherwise. And that's what I mean by it's a rock in the calendar. Ian is usually, it's either Mondays or Tuesdays, but I think he's in on Tuesdays at like 11 as a rock in the calendar. But then sometimes we'll do Monday, sometimes we'll do Tuesday. It depends on how he feels. And sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 11. And knowing that too, I can modify Dan based off of, again, I'm traveling Monday. Maybe I want Monday off. Dan, let's do Tuesday. Okay, cool, no problem. Hey, Lynn, can we do a little bit earlier or a little bit later? And so that's how I just manage and shuffle them. Another client, let's just say Nick, that is, you won't know who he is. He's Tuesdays and Thursdays normally at 6, and Lynn's normally done at 5. And so because of these travels, I was like, hey, Nick, like, can we bump it up a little bit so then I have you guys stacked together? And he's like, yeah, sure. Sorry, can we push it back by 15 minutes? Yeah, okay, no problem. And so again, there's just the shuffling, and you kind of get used to that ebbs and flows. My calendar kind of looks like a university schedule, but then it's always shifting. It's a labyrinth. And then from there, I put in other tasks that I want to do, like write out these people's programming, call this person for check-ins. And so you just kind of get into the ebbs and flows of that. Again, I am not the most organized person, but it starts to get there pretty good. And it's important when you're running your own business to have more organization with that. On top of that, you have to have clients organized because that goes into their schedules. A lot of these people need that reoccurrence, and that's why I like having a rock in the calendar, because they don't have to think about it. They just show up and do it, and then we adjust accordingly. There's some people who they don't necessarily like the rock in the calendar because their schedule doesn't always fit that, so we kind of at least book it out by a week or two or a month, and then we reassess, and then we adjust, and that's okay too. Again, I am so disorganized at home. My mom, she's been leaving a lot of comments on these podcasts. Mom, can you write out as many comments on this particular podcast about how disorganized you see me at home? But then also you can compare it to at least the organization with clients that you see. She does my bookkeeping. I'm still probably not that organized with stuff like that, but she will leave some gold in the comments about how disorganized I am at home. But yeah, like at times I can have up to 20 active clients because I can have 4, 5, 6, 7 programming clients. I can have about another 7 live clients. I can have a couple in-person clients. I can be going to the gym, which I view as a client, and it fluctuates. And so I do block off 1 or 2 hours or periods of work to update numbers, write programming. I do my check-in texts. I do my check-in calls. Those are all separate too. And when you don't have a plan, things fall through the cracks. And so failing to plan is planning to fail. That's, old adage. There's a lot of people who go to the gym 6 times per week and they just wander around. Again, they don't have a plan. They start looking at their phone. I look at my phone for 2 reasons. 1, I got to send the memes to the boys. And two, it's just replying to clients. But it's a little bit different, right? A lot of people, again, they wander. They don't necessarily know what they're doing. They're at the gym 5, 6 times a week, but they see minimal results because they actually are wasting a good chunk of their time that they're there, right? A tailored workout cuts out the fat. It removes what's unnecessary, and hopefully it keeps things simple so you just show up and in 20, 30 minutes, you actually do what you would have done in the hour without wasted time and wandering. You know exactly what you need to do. There's no guesswork, and it's just execute. You just show up and you execute, right? So here's some stats. When people train with a professional, they lose significantly more fat mass than when they do it alone. Why? Well, it takes the guesswork out of it. It keeps you accountable. You're not wasting those hours at the gym. You're actually going to show up and do it. You're way less likely to get hurt, so then you can keep showing up, which when you get hurt, it costs you weeks, it costs you months. And you keep getting that just nudged to push forward just outside of your comfort zone where it's still safe. There's so many times I've had it where clients, they get results on their own, they have a hard time keeping the results on their own. Why? Because they are like Icarus. They flew too close to the sun and then they kind of crashed and they burnt. I also have another thing that I think a lot of people have this misconception that getting to the gym that often diminishes production, which it's just not true. In all fields, you're a firefighter, you're a police officer, yeah, you have to be in shape. You're a trainer, yeah, you need to be in shape. My mom would argue, now that she's retired, and I'm sure my stepdad as well, them at least sticking to somewhat of a workout routine, yeah, they're busy, even though they're retired. It's going to help them stay busy because they still have my grandparents to look after, at least my grandfather. They still have so much other stuff they want to do. They have grandchildren they want to hang out with. And if they physically can't do the things that they want to do during retirement, they're not going to be productive. They're just going to sit on their ass. And so they definitely don't. My stepdad, he's like 72, 73, and he's taking like 15,000 steps a day, walking the dog twice a day, 3 times a day, helping out my mom with my grandfather, doing all these wonderful things when in 10 years, he's pretty fit. He was a farmer. He's still been pretty regularly going to the gym at least for like 15, 20 years, as long as I've known, since he basically moved in with my mom, I want to say. Because before that, I don't think he was regular at the gym, but he worked he had a farm. So, it's pretty active. And so my point here is, again, the productivity of having more energy so you can do more things is extremely important. And a lot of people have that misconception. Again, I can think of a lot of my friends who are not blue collar, they're white collar workers. The blue collar workers actually go to the gym more, and they have a physically demanding job. Now, they don't go to the gym every day. I see them usually 2 or 3 times a week at the gym. Usually it's on weekends because they're not working. And then at least one other time, maybe post-work, especially my one friend, really proud of him actually. I'll give him a shout out, Robert, because he's been working hard at his job, but I still see him at the gym once or twice a week after work, and he's getting a little cardio in. Maybe he was at his desk all day, and then usually I see him doing some heavy lifting, good functional stuff too. So he's done a pretty good job with that. And it probably helps his job. There's, again, people who do white collar jobs. Oh, I'm at the desk all day. I don't have time. I'm too busy. I'll get to it when I get to it. I want you guys to look up the deadlift ETF. It's not an official ETF. It's a fun concept. Companies run by CEOs who lift weights heavily actually outperform the market average. And so there's an ETF that's unofficial that follows CEOs who perform regular exercise. Usually I think it's under the category of weightlifting, intense cardio, combat sports. And it's like, I think it was at one point, the first time I found it, it said it was 2 times since tracking the regular S&P 500, which I think is interesting to look at. Because they're CEOs, they're hella busy, but they know that taking care of their body helps them do better at their job. Stock performance is an interesting way to look at it that way, especially for those white-collared guys who say, I don't have time to work out. Okay, the CEOs of these companies do have time to work out, and they're performing significantly well. I have a client of mine, she runs her own cleaning company, and she works out at 4:35 in the morning. She goes to bed at 8:30. Why? Because she's a high performance. She kicks ass. She works out 4 times a week. She kicks ass at the workouts, and she was just like, oh, I need to show you my delts. They're popping. They're definitely transformed, and she's proud of that. She likes to have big, strong muscles, but it really does have an impact, right? And then she brings that energy into work, and then her business in the KW region, from a cleaning standpoint, kicks ass. And so, again, there is that misconception that working out doesn't give you time. It actually builds more mitochondria in your cells. The more mitochondria you have, the healthier your mitochondria, the more mental and physical energy you're going to have. It boosts your mood, it clears out your brain, you work faster, and you get more done. And all you had to do was lift some weights. And then you're healthier, and then you don't actually have the cost of that health. So it's so negative of a health cost not to work out, let alone an actual monetary cost. But people don't look at it as a monetary cost, which, again, I'm always gonna talk about that until proven otherwise. The other aspect of it too is it teaches you how lifting a heavy barbell teaches you how to handle stress, right? Teaches you delayed gratification, teaches you time management, because if you've committed to 2 to 3 times a week getting into the gym for an hour, you will find the time to do that. And now you find the time elsewhere in other places of work. There's another concept called Parkinson's law, not to be confused with Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's law means that the task you give a thing will expand for the time allotted to it. And in business, if you're like, hey, you have the end of the week to get this task done, the person's going to take a week. You say, hey, if you have end of the day to get this task done, they're going to take until the end of the day, within reason, of course. And so working out teaches you then to get more stuff done in a shorter time because you're also working out, but you have that energy to do so, right? So I'm going to give you guys some practical tips, clients and trainers alike, to get shit done. Accountability. Human behavior is tricky. We need a reason to show up even when we're feeling lazy. Even myself, if I have to be at the gym to train clients at 6 in the morning, I'm up at 5:20, I lay in bed for 2 seconds, and I'm up and I go. Here on this trip, I don't have to get up. I'm going to take my time. It's like a half hour to an hour of wasted in bed. You probably is similar, right? And so it's a great catalyst to get started is to have something that you should be doing first thing in the morning, and workouts are great like that for most people. Schedule like a boss. Do not wait on your free time. You won't have it. Again, Parkinson's law, put it in your calendar and everything else will condense, but you'll get the same amount of stuff done. So block in your workouts on your calendar, just like a meeting, and it's you. You're meeting yourself and you are the most important client. Remember that 3 great hours a week at the gym will beat 6 mediocre hours. So show up, get your shit done, and get out. And if you need that help, that's where trainers really help maximize that time. We are worth our weight in gold. You don't need to see us the whole 3 hours. There's accountability. There's seeing us one time and you do it the other 2 times. There's so much that you can do with that. I give clients homework and it bridges the gap. So they go into the gym 3 times a week and then the other 2 days of the work week, they're just doing a little bit of light stretching during their desk meetings when they take a little break from it, right? And that's what really makes a big difference. I have one client in particular, she's gonna be doing stretching right before she starts work, during her coffee breaks, at lunch break, and then right after work. And it's like 5 minutes times 5, 25 minutes of stretching, and that's on her days off. And it makes a world of difference. Create that structure, right? It's not just about building muscle, it's buying your time back, and trainers remove that workload so you don't have to think about it, right? If you are barely getting by, again, the economy's tough, and you can't even afford to eat beef because it's expensive. There's a lot of free resources. I would say once you start to have a little bit of expendable income, your bills are paid, you don't really have that much debt, or your debt's paid off, you're eating decent, and you can afford a gym membership, it is worthwhile even just investing in starter packs with coaches. I have starter packs. I have free programming. I'm more than happy to take free consultant calls here and there because it builds my network. It is worth the weight in gold to do something like that so you can see the world of difference. So look in your calendar right now. This is me coaching you. Block off 2 to 3 times in the week that you can do 2 45 minutes, 3 half hours, whatever you have. Put it in. And it's a non-negotiable. You have to go to the gym. You can work out. You can do mobility. You can put it in to listen to this podcast. You can put it in the calendar that you want to have a call with me, and I will have a call with you. And that is perfectly fine. Thank you for listening. Reminding you to follow me on social media at thicknick1, THICCNIC1. And that is it. Again, short and sweet podcast because it's organized, 23 minutes, and this better be life-changing.